community starts with our ecology in part, right? But the rewilding, I was at a conference 6 years ago or so and came across Isabella Tree.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes, that's her name, Isabella Tree, Rewilding,
Yes.
which is just published last year, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, remarkable vision, and the work that they're doing in England, I believe, is astounding.
It is. And I've heard there's a documentary of their work as well. I've not seen the documentary, but I have read the work. And I've not seen the documentary, but I've heard that it's good. I have read the book and have had a chance to engage with some other people who've met Isabella Tree. They're doing really fascinating work. And I think MacDonald would be so intrigued, not least because he, particularly in the novel What's Mine's Mine, really addresses exactly. In fact, as I was reading Rewilding, I was wanting Isabella Tree to be reading What's Mine's Mine so much, not least because she quotes passages from Isaiah. In some of her epigraphs, which is a key text to What's Mine's Mine, which is MacDonald's novel that's set in the north of Scotland, an area that's called Sutherlandshire, or also Mackay's land, Mackay's country. And MacDonald's mother was a Mackay. So it's the area that his family's from, and he weaves in a bunch of his family's history. But it's set at a time of the clearances of Scotland. And I'm always surprised at how many people are not familiar with the clearances.
I'm not.
No, my part of Canada, it was part of the school curriculum. I'm particularly shocked by all my English friends who've never heard of the clearances, because the clearances are what populated much of New Zealand, Canada, and certain portions of the States in particular, because they are when the poor Scots were cleared off their lands by the wealthy landowners in Scotland, often English landowners, not only English landowners, but cleared off the land so that the landowners could bring in sheep for food, but also deer for hunting. And it was a more economic decision for them to move the people away from their ancestral homes and bring in hunting and farm animals in larger flocks, which was devastating for the land itself. And MacDonald discusses that in What's Mine's Mine. In fact, MacDonald accurately predicts the extermination, what we call the extirpation, which is a local extinction of a species. He predicts correctly the extirpation of several species in his novel. And I'm happy to say species that now have been reintroduced to Scotland and are doing fine. But MacDonald saw, because the clearances were still happening, they're at their height in the late 1700s and early 1800s, but they were still happening during MacDonald's lifetime. So one more example of his political voice, his social activist voice, and his showing how clearing people off the land is devastating for the people, for their language, for their story, their sense of self, on so many levels, devastating for the humans, but also devastating for the land itself and the other creatures who have lived on that land with those humans for, time immemorial. And MacDonald addresses a bunch of the social justice issues around that, but also shows what happens to the land, how the land starts to be killed. And in part because the land is, at that time especially, it's not just, perhaps part of the reason the economic injustice is not impeded as much as it should be, is the land has been romanticized during the Romantic era. People see it as something that you go and visit, you see on a postcard, this beautiful, sublime, foreign thing out there that we look at. And MacDonald is pushing back against that and saying, no, it's actually something we know. People live here and they're not noble savages. They're actually real humans. And their identity and way of being and their faith is intricately intertwined with the curvature of the land, the rivers, the rocks, the natural native species here. And if you tear those things apart, then there's going to be deep long-term damage. And that's exactly what Isabella Tree and her husband, on the name of the property, I'm blanking on it for a moment, in Devonshire. I don't know if do you remember the name of the property in Devon?
It escapes me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So down in Devonshire, so it's one syllable. I'm trying to find it, but that is what they are trying to redress on their property. And it's a very long process. And there's all sorts of complicated issues because you can't go back to what was, nor
Right.
necessarily should you.
Right.
So what does it mean to move forward in a way in which we as humans are taking seriously our call to steward? And this again is very important to MacDonald throughout his work. I think it's more explicit in pieces like What's Mine's Mine, but it's there throughout his work. What does it mean to recognize that we are fellow creations of the Lord, that we are also creatures, and that we are called to steward the other creatures? But what does it look like to do so in a way that isn't our lording over them, but rather helping give them voice, helping them to be fully who God created them to be, to work alongside them, to use the unique skills and gifts we have as humans and our unique position as humans to help them be what God has created to be, to move away the impediments, to right some of the wrongs that we have put in the way as humans, so that all creation can sing. And all creation can be fully who we were called to be when God so loved the world, so loved the cosmos, not just humans, but so loved the cosmos that he sent Christ. So what does that look like? And I think people like Isabella Tree and her husband are trying to find their way forward into that. And it's not easy.
No. And yet there they are beginning, right? And I think of so many things in history where those few pioneers began what happened over generations to be transformative change. So,
and hopeful change.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
And you get that in the book, right? The delight that mistakes are made. Some things, issues aren't clear. Should beavers be introduced or not? And how so? Like, those are complicated. I live on a farm in a wetlands. Those are such complicated, real questions. And mistakes will be made. And that's part of it. And sacrifices will be made. But her delight and joy as species return, as would, MacDonald if he heard the capercaillies singing loudly again and the corncrakes singing loudly again in the fields around his home.